All right, so we're going to talk about three different sections in today's notes. Um, just giving you some highlights of some different areas during the Renaissance. And so we'll begin with chapter 28, section 2, which is going to be talking about France. So in 1494, the French begin to invade Italy. The French kings were fascinated with the Italian architecture, the Italian art, and the Italian fashions. And in the 1500s, King Francis I is going to hire Italian artisans to work for him in France. He had Italian architects build a chateau or a castle along the Loire River. You had French authors copying Italian authors. Rabelais was a physician monk who is going to write about how humans are not tied down by the past. People could do whatever they wished. His most famous book is going to be The Adventures of Gargantua and Pantagruel. And it's about these two comical giants um, and their treks. So let's move in now to section 3 of chapter 28. Section 3 of chapter 28 is going to regard the Renaissance and Flanders and Germany. Okay, these were rich trading centers, and religious scholars had been learning Greek and Hebrew so that way they could understand the earliest versions of the Bible. And what they discover is over the years, church leaders had been misinterpreting what the Bible said. They were interpreting things and sharing with people to serve their own needs. And so these religious scholars in Germany and Flanders, they want changes to make the church teachings simpler so people could understand them. Erasmus is going to make a new Latin translation of the New Testament. And he also writes a book called The Praise of Folly. The Praise of Folly attacked corrupt church leaders and their practices. In Germany and Flanders, you've got people that begin copying Northern Italian merchants. They appreciate the Renaissance values, the wealth, the beauty, the personal improvement and stuff. And you're going to start seeing a middle class develop. In 1440, Johannes Gutenberg is going to invent something that's going to change everything. He invents the printing press, which used these carved letters that could be rearranged, and now all of a sudden, books could be printed quickly. Before, books had to be handwritten, which took a lot of time, made them very expensive. Now they can mass produce books. More books become available. People then were learning to read more. And this led to the spread of new ideas. People are also studying the Italian works of art, and they began painting detailed scenes from the Bible or daily life. Hubert and Jean van Eyck, these brothers from Flanders, they discovered painting in oils, which led to these deep, rich, colored paintings. And so for our last little section here, we're going to talk about the Renaissance ideas coming out of Spain. So this would be in section 4. So if we were to look at Spain in the 1400s, early 1500s, what you would see is there were very close ties between the Roman Catholic Church and the Spanish government. Cardinal Jimenez, he was a leading church official and a huge supporter of the Spanish monarchy. He valued learning. He's going to found a number of universities. He also helps create a new translation of the Bible, which had 3 columns side by side. It had a Greek column, a Latin column, and a Hebrew column. So now, no matter what you spoke or studied, the Greek, the Latin, and Hebrew were all side by side of this Bible. In 1555, Philip II becomes king of Spain. He was very religious. He didn't trust scholars. He charged a lot of scholars with heresy during the Spanish Inquisition. Some of them he even had burned at the stake. Philip II is going to build a new granite palace near Madrid called El Escorial. It's where the royal court was. They had an art gallery. There was a monastery. They had a church. There was a tomb there for Spanish royalty to be buried in. It was this symbol of power and religious devotion of the Spanish rulers. Despite the church and government controls, though, the arts still did happen. In Toledo, just south of Madrid, the capital there, in Toledo is going to be the center of painters and poets. El Greco was a Greek who settled in Toledo, and he had this unique form of painting with these very long bodies for people. Some say he was copying some Byzantine styles. Some say that he actually had eye problems, which led to kind of distorting his vision a little bit. Whatever the reason, he painted people with very long bodies. You also saw theater being produced. Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra wrote a lot of works. Probably the most famous and still read today was Don Quixote. It was these adventures of this comical knight and his peasant squire as they went around the countryside.